Hi guys, Rita Ree here. If you're new, welcome. If you're coming back, what's up? So on today's video, as you can tell by the title, I'm finally getting around to filming my labor and delivery story time. As you guys know, some might know, I gave birth to my beautiful baby girl on November 13th, Ayla Grace, and she's 3 months now. And now I'm finally getting around to filming it. So don't mind my appearance. I'm kind of feeling under the weather, and it's like 8 degrees here, so I'm freezing. So this is keeping me warm and cozy, and let's get right into it. So Ayla Grace was born November 13th. I was a week past my due date when she was born. So we decided to go into our doctor's appointment. I was 1 week and 1 day past due, and everything was going fine. They checked her heart rate. I was having a bit contractions, but I wasn't really feeling anything because I was only 1 to 2 centimeters dilated at that time, and everything was fine. Her breathing and everything was fine. So the doctor wasn't worried at that time, and they were allowing me to go, back to normal. And then of course I tried to eat spicy food, take walks and everything like that, and she was still baking in there, did not want to come out. So my doctor wanted to see me in a couple more days, so I end up going back on Tuesday, and I was still having I was still 1 to 2 centimeters dilated, and still having contractions, but I wasn't really feeling them. It was just like I felt like a little bit of pressure. So the doctor was kind of worried, because I was already past my due date by 1 week. So at that time she was like, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and have you go in to get induced. I was terrified because, for one, my birth plan that I wanted was, of course, my water to break at home and for me to labor at home for as long as I can and then go to the hospital. So as soon as she said that I had to go in and get induced, I was already terrified. I was like sad because I was just, in my mind, you hear all these stories about inductions that they make the contractions more intense, and then sometimes they can lead into going into C-section. So I was terrified. I did not want to have to get induced, but I just prayed about it, and I was like, you know what, this is what's gonna be, and the doctors know best, and it's just what it is. So we ended up leaving the doctor's office, and I came home, got my hospital bag, and we headed to the hospital. So this was Tuesday around like 5:30 that we got to the hospital, and what they were gonna do is have me start on a do 3 doses of I believe it was mistoprolol. I'm not pronouncing it right, but it's a induction medication, whatnot. So I was to do 3 doses every 4 hours. So they thought that that would help, and it was like a slow progression into induction. They didn't want to start me on Pitocin right away, which I'm thankful that they didn't do that. So 5:30 came around. I got checked in. I got admitted because her heart rate when we got to the hospital wasn't lows and highs anymore. It was kind of like stabilizing a bit, but they still wanted to admit me. And by that time I think I was 2 centimeters dilated still. So I ended up getting getting admitted, and I got my first dose around 6, and that didn't do much. I didn't feel anything, and I was trying to stay active, walking around, everything like that. And then by like 12, they gave me my 2nd dose, and they also wanted to give me an Ambien to go to sleep, because of course I was not, I was just too excited at that time, and anxious mostly. So they end up giving me the 2nd dose, and They gave me Ambien to go to sleep. Of course, I did not fall asleep. I tried, but you know, I got up walking around in the hallway, and the nurse was like, hey, you have to go back in bed. You took an Ambien. You're not supposed to be walking around. I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't know. I just could not go to sleep, you know. And I was just, you know, in the back of my mind, the more active I was, the better it was for me and the baby, because, you know, it can speed things up. So then I finally was able to go to sleep and everything like that for a little bit, of course. And then and I was still 2 centimeters dilated, and I was not really having contractions that I was feeling. So then the next day came around, and they gave me my second dose around 3 o'clock, or like 3 or 4 in the morning, and that didn't do anything. So the doctor came in and they checked me, and I was still not progressing at all, and the contractions were happening like very often, very frequent, but you know, they were just like short, and I wasn't really feeling them. So what the doctor ended up doing is they because I slowly wanted to progress things. I didn't want my body to go into shock right away. So I'm so glad my doctor did this. They end up deciding to do a Foley ball. And basically what that is they just take a like a Foley cath or whatnot, and they it's like a balloon at the tip, and they just fill it up with water to expand your cervix. Luckily, my cervix was already soft, so that wasn't the issue. I just was not progressing as fast as I thought I would. So when around like around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I ended up getting the Foley ball, and you know, the doctor said the good thing is your cervix is very soft, so this ball should, you know, because they put the Foley ball in you, and then it's supposed to, once your cervix gets to the dilation that it's supposed to, like 3 or 4, then the Foley ball will go ahead and burst and fall out. So that's what happened. Within like 15-20 minutes, he thought within an hour, but literally within 15-20 minutes, the Foley ball ended up, you know, because my cervix did dilate, and it did end up falling out while I went to go use the bathroom. So I was like, oh my God, you know, at that time then I did see, this is TMI, of course, it's a pregnancy video, TMI, but I end up, I did have the bloody show then. So I'm like, oh my God, things are starting to progress now. So this was at 3 o'clock on 11/13, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So once that happened, I know that things will start going into gear. So at like 3:30, the doctor came in, and I let him know that the Foley ball ended up, you know, falling out, and he checked, and I did progress by a little bit, 3 centimeters, and then what he ended up doing was they actually broke my water, and I was like terrified because I just didn't know what to expect. So they broke my water, and it didn't feel weird. It was just a weird sensation, like a warm sensation, like you're peeing, you know. So I ended up so they broke my water, and then I slowly felt like the contractions were, you know, starting to speed up a bit, and I could feel them. And then what ends up happening as well, once they started the Foley ball, once that was done, the doctor also wanted to start me on a low dose of Pitocin. I was terrified of Pitocin because I heard that, you know, like just the scary stuff about how it can, like the Pitocin can make your contractions more intense, and it will hurt and everything like that. So thankfully I was still okay. I was not in pain, and mind you, going into it, I did not want to do epidural. I wanted to be as natural as possible. So I did not have the epidural at this point, and I was still like 3 to 4 centimeters dilated. So, and then I was staying active, you know, getting up, doing squats, and you know, but I still had to be careful because the baby's heart was kind of like dipping, not dipping, but it was like elevating, and then, you know, so it was like up and down. It wasn't really stable. So the nurse wanted me to just like take it easy and walk a little bit, but like, you know, just relax as well in the bed. So then 6 o'clock came around, and by this time I believe I was 6 centimeters dilated, and I was walking around the hallway, and I was you know, going on the exercise ball and everything like that, and the contractions were becoming intense to where, you know, like I had to like hold on and like breathe through them. And then in the back of my mind, what really helped me is a tip for you ladies is I just imagined a contraction as a wave, and every time a contraction would come, I would say, ride the wave, ride the wave, ride the wave. I closed my eyes and I repeat it, and I just visualized the wave, and I just like wrote the wave, wrote the wave, wrote the wave, and then the contraction would go away. And it would come back, and I would say that, and it's just, you know, it really helped me relax and just prepare for the contractions every time it came. So around 7 o'clock, luckily my husband was with me this whole time, and he was really helping me through the contractions. But around 7 o'clock, they got really intense, and I was like, oh my God, you know, these are very intense, and you know, I think I'm gonna do an epidural. It hurts really bad. But before the epidural, I asked if I could do pain meds, and they said no. You know, like we'll have to double check with the doctor, but the doctor said no, because just the heart rate wasn't like as easy stabilized as we wanted to. It was still like highs and lows, highs and lows, highs and lows. So the doctor did not want me to be on pain meds, just because they were scared that it might either decrease it or increase it. So I was like, okay, how about an epidural? How long before I can get the epidural? Because by this time when they checked me, I was like 8 centimeters, and this was like around 7:45. I was like 8 centimeters dilated, and I could not walk anymore because the contractions were very intense. So I ended up going back in bed, and they were so intense. I was like, well, when can I get an epidural? And they're like, well, we're not sure, maybe within 30 minutes or so. And in the back of my mind, I knew that I was so close to delivering. It was like, you know, I was there, and in the back of my mind, I thought the epidural was going to like slow everything down. So I just ended up laying in bed, and I just closed my eyes, and you know, I had my husband put a cold washcloth on me, because at this time I was sweating, and I did feel like my body was transitioning into going into labor or delivering. So I ended up laying back and had the washcloth, and like I just closed my eyes and relaxed and held my husband's hand, and he was counting 3, 2, 1. He was looking at the monitor. God bless his heart. He was looking at the monitor. As soon as a contraction would come, he was like, all right, Rita, here it comes. And then he would say 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. And you know, like it was just breathing and counting, breathing and counting. And that really, honestly, I felt like helped me a lot to relax. And he was coaching me through the breathing. And honestly, if it was not for him, I would have not been able to go any further, and I would have just asked for the epidural and told them to get it to me as soon as possible. But so then it was like around 8 o'clock now, and I was like, the pain was intense, and I felt so much pressure, and as soon as a contraction came, I felt like that I needed to push, and I was like, oh my God, I have to push, I have to push, I have to push. And they're like, no, slow down, don't push, just hold it in. And I was like, no, I have to push, I have to push. So then the doctor came in at 8 o'clock, and she checked me, and I was about 9 centimeters dilated now. So it was like go time. So I was just like, you know, the second contraction come. Hold on, I think I hear my daughter up. Yep, hold on, I'll be right back. Little munchkin decided to get up from her nap, so here she is. So where was I at? So yeah, 8 o'clock at this time, the contractions were very intense. I was at like a 8 or 9 centimeters dilated, and I really, like, when a contraction came, I really had to push. I really felt like, you know, like she was right there, and I had to push. So the doctor came in, After the second contraction that I had that was like really intense that I had to push, she ended up checking me, and it was go time. I was ready to push. So by this time, I was like, ugh, it was so intense. Like the pain was intense, but I know I can handle it, you know. And I didn't have an epidural. I didn't have the pain meds. I was going all natural. So I ended up pushing for like 8 minutes, and she came at 8. She was born at 8. I think it was 8 minutes of pushing. So she was born 8:19. At 8:19. And let me tell you, as soon as they put her on my chest, I felt the relief, you know, like, because they say with the epidural, like, you know, you're numb, you won't be able to walk, you won't be able to get up. But as soon as I gave birth to her, the pain was gone, you know. And of course, after you deliver, you know, they like push on your uterus to like get the pressure and stuff out. So that was like kind of uncomfortable. And I only had a 1-degree tear, which was not too bad. I only had to get a couple of stitches. And the good thing that I'm glad why I went natural, because as soon as I delivered her, within an hour, after I breastfed, within an hour, I was able to get up and go walk. So I was blessed to be able to do that. And, you know, like that was my goal. And I'm glad I just pushed through the pain and got this beautiful baby girl out of the whole experience. So this is Ayla Grace, my baby girl, and she's just the sweetest little thing. And yeah, so that's how my labor and delivery went. Sorry, the video was kind of all over the place. I tried to kind of not hurry it up, but I just tried to finally put up this video because I kept putting it on the back burner. And her naps, this 3-month, her naps have been so short, so I had to, you know, try to make time to go ahead and film it. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like more videos, I do want to film like newborn essential videos and things in that nature. If you guys are interested in any videos like that or have any video ideas, don't forget to comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Thanks. Bye. Say bye-bye.